50 Cent has just revealed every clue surrounding the murders of Tupac and Biggie. When you connect all the dots, it becomes clear that it wasn't just Diddy who may have been involved. Real video footage of Tupac being shot at Quad Studios 30 years ago has recently surfaced. We're going to examine every frame and look at interviews leading all the way up to Biggie's death. In this video, we break down every clue that 50 Cent has brought forward.
Who killed Tupac and Biggie? And I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie than Tupac. I think Tupac might got killed by a dude that they had an incident with earlier that day. But Biggie's seems a little
JFK.
Governmental to me.
Big developments in the case of Dwayne "Keefy D" Davis, the man accused of orchestrating the of rap icon Tupac Shakur back in the 1990s. All these years later, the former gang leader is behind bars in Las Vegas and is insisting the case be thrown out. And he is implicating another music legend who's making headlines, Sean Diddy Combs. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Dwayne "Keefy D" Davis is said to be behind one of the most infamous killings in history. Tupac Shakur, the 90s rap superstar, was gunned down while riding in a car with Suge Knight after the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand. And over the years, there have been multiple investigations into Tupac Shakur's murder, but there has been one man who has seemed to implicate himself in the assassination again and again and again. Dwayne Davis, also known...
Let's go back to the early 90s. On the West Coast, you had Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Tupac. On the East Coast, you had the notorious Biggie and Puffy. These were the biggest names in the industry, and some of the greatest rap music in history was being made. Tupac quickly established himself as a leader, but everything changed when Biggie released his debut album, Ready to Die. Puffy ran Bad Boy Entertainment, and Biggie was his biggest asset. After the album dropped, Tupac was immediately impressed and started spending time with Biggie, which made Puffy nervous. He knew that if Biggie ever chose to sign with Tupac and Death Row Records, Bad Boy wouldn't stand a chance. Puffy tried hard to pull Tupac to his side, but real recognizes real, and most people simply didn't like Puffy.
Right. But Kirk Burrows, I want to go back to this interview that he did with Rolling Stone. He said that Diddy, he was jealous of the relationship between Tupac and Big, and he also went on to say that Diddy, he wanted to be friends with Tupac, but Tupac wasn't interested.
Diddy and Tupac was friends at first, bro. I remember the time me and Diddy rolled up to Pac in, I think it's what's the name of that club? The Roxy. There was some kind of concert going on and they was talking and everything. They had a friendship. I don't know why their friendship fell out. Their friendship was before before Biggie and Pop. So I don't know why they fell out. I know every girl that Tupac had, Puff wanted and got. So did he have jealousy? Yeah, he had a jealousy of Pac. But I think that it was more so that he knew Big was the meal ticket, and that Pac wanted Big to be with him with Thug Life, but he didn't have the money at the time. And when Big got the money from Puff, Pac gave him the blessings to go with him, but he also told Big that he had to watch Puff because Puff was gonna rob him blind.
Then it happened. As we'll see again and again in this story, Puffy chose to deal with his problems through violence. On November 30th, 1994, Tupac was robbed and shot multiple times in the lobby of Quad Recording Studios in Manhattan as he arrived for a late-night session. Police officially said it was a robbery, but none of Tupac's jewelry was taken. Later, in an interview, Tupac said he believed Diddy was behind the shooting, though he never went after him for revenge.
So do you think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question.
Right.
I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine.
Right.
I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows.
Right.
So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. Because you seen what I said in the Vibe article. I basically bowed out. It was gonna go ahead about my life. The next issue, that wasn't even the next issue because them cowards waited about 4 issues before they got their story together. 4 issues later, half of New York is commenting on me getting shot. And before, they was all like, we didn't see nothing. In the first issue, read it, Vibe viewers. Nobody seen shit. The 4th issue, when they came back with a reply, everybody knew what I did. They knew what I said. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the bullet. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing detective work. They found the bullet. Oh, you found the bullet, huh?
Diddy completely denied having anything to do with the shooting, but Tupac was convinced otherwise. He had gone to Quad Studios to meet Biggie, and in his mind, both Biggie and Diddy were responsible. This moment would later spark the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, a conflict that would eventually lead to the deaths of both Tupac and Biggie.
I think my favorite thing about 50 Cent's Netflix Diddy documentary is how he built a timeline off of this information. And one of my favorite parts of this documentary is them really getting into the timeline of events when it comes to Tupac and Biggie. And it really gives us a lot of perspective from people that were close to the situation, and a lot of people allege in this documentary that they believe that Diddy was very jealous of Tupac. And they pretty much go through everything from the Quad incident and Tupac believing that Puffy was behind it, like he said in the Vibe interview, and they lay out this whole timeline of the downfall happening perfectly, in my opinion. We are even hearing from Greg Kading, the detective that worked on Tupac and Biggie's case in this documentary. He is the investigator that did that proffer agreement with Keefy D way back in 2008, where Keefy D alleged that Diddy tried to offer him $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. And Tupac's trial with Keefy D is coming up very soon in early 2026, and we know that Diddy's name has been dropped at least 200 times during these proceedings already. So this is one case that I am definitely waiting for and I am going to cover. In Keefy D's 2008 proffer agreement, he alleged that Diddy's friend Zip Martin is the one that gave him the weapon that was used to take out Tupac. And Keefy D told the investigator Greg Kading that Zip Martin had a special compartment to keep this weapon in his car that he drove to Las Vegas. And in this documentary, we have Greg Kading confirming that Zip Martin did drive the same type of vehicle that Keefy D alleged to Las Vegas this night. And then during this documentary, we heard from the former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, who alleged during this time, Diddy had him hiring a whole bunch of people and getting cars to drive to Las Vegas. And he is now very curious into why Diddy wanted to do this. And he said in his opinion, he now believes that Diddy was behind taking out Tupac.
After the shooting, Tupac released several diss tracks aimed at Biggie and Diddy. Tensions continued to rise, and eventually things took a turn for the worse again. Nearly 2 years after the Quad Studios shooting on September 13, 1996, Tupac was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to even go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh wait, maybe I said that shit about boyfriend because he got Tupac killed.
After the shooting, the LAPD formed an investigative unit to find those responsible. At the time, the unit was unable to identify who carried out the attack. However, 27 years later, they arrested Keefe D. For those unfamiliar, Keefe D, whose real name is Dwayne Keith Davis, is a former member of the Southside Compton Crips. He was charged in connection with the 1996 murder of Tupac Shakur.
During the Biggie Smalls investigation in the early 2000s, the filing reads, the 3 LAPD and FBI agents were part of a task force to solve the shooting of rapper Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls, legal name Christopher Wallace. The task force, through a sophisticated criminal investigation, obtained sufficient evidence that would prove Mr. Davis was the leader of the Southside Crips and his gang was responsible for over 360 kilos of cocaine and PCP. Mr. Davis provided 3 interviews to obtain immunity from prosecution. The final interview were solely questions regarding the Tupac Shakur shooting, which Mr. Davis was also provided immunity from prosecution. So during a December 2008 interview with investigators, that is when Davis allegedly started to spill the beans about his one-time friend, Sean Combs, who he refers to as Puffy. He claims Sean Puffy Combs solicited Mr. Davis to kill Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur for $1 million. Eric Zip Martin, an associate of Puffy Combs, provided Mr. Davis with a gun to exact revenge on Tupac Shakur for the beating Mr. Anderson received. Now, Davis reportedly told the investigators that even though the job had been partially completed and Shakur was killed, neither he nor Anderson ever got paid. He later revealed that he believes Combs had paid the go-between Zip Martin, who he claims kept the money for himself. And he said much of the same thing in a 2009 interview a year later, because according to the motion to dismiss, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, as far back as 2009, was in possession of the same set of facts that the Clark County District Attorney is now alleging makes Mr. Davis responsible for the murder of Tupac Shakur. The Clark County District Attorney's Office has offered no reason as to why it waited another 14 years to prosecute a case against Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis has been irreversibly prejudiced by this unnecessary delay in prosecution of this case.
Hide $1 million, brother. You ain't going to cash that in the check cashing place. You signing that over to somebody. I said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times again. Eric Von Zip showed me and my man Boom Dang, aka my man Slick, a check for $1 million. We don't know, and everybody trying to say, lying, talking about half of it got paid, 500. I don't know. I know when I asked him about, we asked him, do we ask? No, we didn't ask him. I know when he showed us the check and he walked away after he showed us the check for the $1 million, you understand? I asked Boone, I said, yo, Boone, when did he get a record label? He said, you know how Zip is. I said, when did he get a Zip record label? Zip had a check for $1 million. He said he got it from Barry Hankerson and Jimmy Henchman for his record label, Black Ground Records. So now, if that's true, we know Jimmy Henchman and Puff was cool. You should be able to trace $1 million if that's the truth. If that's the truth, you should be able to trace that, where it came from. Why did he get it? Is that true that he sold a record label to them? And this was all after Pac's death.
Suge Knight was shot in the head during the same incident when Tupac was killed. He later confirmed that Keef D had confessed to carrying out the murder.
He said, but I'm going to give you something that's real true, and I didn't want to tell you because we've been knowing each other, since we was kids. So Keef D was like, look, I need the money. Puffy and them supposed to gave me $1 million. They gave us most of the money, or half of the money. And that's how everything unraveled for is what happened in Vegas. At that time, I'm on parole. I look to the left, look to the right. The whole place is packed. So I'm like, I had to go take the piss. Let's have this conversation in the restroom. He's like, man, I ain't going in that restroom with you. And good thing he didn't, because even though we was friends. But if a motherfucker paid you to kill us, I got a bullet into my skull, and one of the best friends I had ever had in life is Pac, and he ain't here. I'm gonna beat the fuck out that nigga in that restaurant. You know, my blood was boiling. Somebody used to always say, but at the same time, I am an intelligent, wise man and a businessman. Since I can't do nothing to him, I might as well get him to answer some questions. So I doubled back on him and said, "What you mean?" He said, "Well, look, Puffy used to come to the hood."
During an interview with the FBI in 1999, Davis apparently said something completely different. According to the FBI report, which was included in the motion to dismiss, Anderson was not involved in the shooting death of Tupac Shakur, and neither Davis nor his group killed Shakur or Christopher Wallace, aka Notorious B.I.G. Davis does not know who killed the two rap stars. He believes that either individuals from New York associated with Puffy Combs or individuals associated with Death Row Records could have killed Shakur, and that individuals associated with Death Row Records killed Wallace. Okay, so again, changing stories. And by the way, Davis goes on to say that he was introduced to Combs in the early 90s by a man named Eric Zip Martin. This is another alleged drug dealer. And this is where we get into it. So the report reads, in or around 1992, Martin introduced Davis to Sean Puffy Combs. Davis recalls the introduction occurring at the Paradise nightclub on Santa Monica Boulevard. After speaking with Combs, Davis agreed to allow Combs to use his 1964 Chevy in a music video. The video featured the artist Usher. After the vehicle was damaged in the production of the video, Combs paid $2,500 to have it repaired. And by the way, according to Davis, Combs was scared of Suge Knight. And this was a man who had a reputation for being, sometimes violent and extreme. And that moves us now to this DEA report. So there was a DEA report from a 2008 task force meeting with Davis that was also included as an exhibit in the motion. And in it, Davis talks about the murder of a man named Jai Robles. This is Knight's bodyguard. He was killed in Atlanta in 1995. And according to Davis, he'd heard a rumor that an associate of Combs had killed Robles. The report says Combs requested to speak to Davis and asked Davis if he thought it was safe for Combs to come to Los Angeles for a concert. Combs expressed his concerns about Knight and possible retaliation related to the Robles murder. Davis advised Combs that he would provide 40 or 50 tickets to the concert. Davis could provide an entourage. Combs agreed, and Davis and his crew in fact attended the concert in support of Combs. Davis recalls the concert taking place in Anaheim, California. It was at this event that Combs began to solicit Davis to kill Knight and Shakur. Combs asserted something to the effect of, "I'll give anything for those dudes' heads."
In the end, when you line up all the facts, interviews, and hidden details, the story becomes far bigger than anyone expected. What once looked like rumors now feels like a puzzle finally coming together. But this is just the beginning, not the end. If you want to stay ahead as more details come out, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This story isn't over yet, and neither are the questions.